Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play by play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing.
What up, Fin fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. How is everyone doing this beautiful Wednesday morning? More news coming out from the Miami Dolphins. This is a pre-recording, obviously. Usually go live. I thought I hit you in the head with a little bit pre-recording because this video is going to be short and sweet. But more news coming out of the Miami Dolphins. Yesterday, we talked about Mike McDaniel being involved in the general manager hiring process, sitting in on these meetings. Now reports are coming out saying that Mike McDaniel will not be sitting in, which I think is a good idea. I'd never understood why they would let him sit in anyway, but reports are now that he will not be part of that process. Thank God. Thank goodness. But the big news yesterday coming out after the video that we did yesterday was John Harbaugh was released by the Baltimore Ravens. This changes everything, in my opinion. I was all for maybe keeping Mike McDaniel for possibly one more season. There was nobody that was available that, as far as head coaching candidates available, that I felt like we need to go out and get that guy. That's why I was all right with maybe keeping Mike McDaniel for another season. Plus, with Tua's contract, I didn't feel like the 2026 Miami Dolphins were going to have an opportunity to really be competitive like that. So I was all right with Mike being back for maybe one more year. But now that John Harbaugh has become available, I think that switches up everything. I think that changes everything. I think the Miami Dolphins should do a full court press and go out and do everything they can possibly do to get John Harbaugh. Coaches like John Harbaugh don't become available on the regular. John Harbaugh's had a tremendous amount of success with the Baltimore Ravens, whether you want to credit that to Lamar Jackson, listen, the guy's been there for 18 plus years. He's had a huge part in what they do over there. I think John Harbaugh, the possibility of bringing him to the Miami Dolphins could come with that culture change that we've all been dying for. I think John Harbaugh is absolutely a leader of men. I think that this would be groundbreaking for the Miami Dolphins franchise as a whole. Now, the way you go about doing it is very tricky. You got Mike McDaniel. He is still technically your head coach. Now, this is where it can get really, really crazy, is because do you pursue John Harbaugh in secretive? Do you do it behind Mike McDaniel's back? Do you let Mike McDaniel know that, hey, you're going to be here if we can't get this guy? Or do you fire Mike McDaniel straight out and pursue John Harbaugh full on full court press? You know what I mean? I don't know which way the Miami Dolphins should go about doing this, but I know that it needs to be done. I know it needs to be done. You know, if you fire Mike McDaniel, you take the risk of John Harbaugh signing with another football team and we missing out on Mike McDaniel and John Harbaugh. It's like going to the prom with no date. You take the risk of, if you do it behind his back, Mike McDaniel finding out and John Harbaugh still doesn't come to the Miami Dolphins. And then you got a disgruntled coach like back in the day with Anthony Fasano. So I don't know the best course of action, but I know that the Miami Dolphins need to do whatever they can possibly do to get John Harbaugh in the building. We all know that Stephen Ross had a relationship with Jim Harbaugh. You know, Jim Harbaugh coached at Michigan. Stephen Ross, a graduate of Michigan, a big Michigan guy. We all know that Stephen Ross wanted Jim to come here and coach. He was not willing to steal him from Michigan, though, to bring him here, which, questions that kind of bothered me. You know what I mean? I understand that Michigan's your alma mater, you know what I mean? But you owe the Miami Dolphin fans to do whatever you can to put the best product on the field. And because he was the head coach of your alma mater, you wouldn't go out and snag him. You know what I mean? Because to be honest, Jim was ready to come back to the pros a year before he did. But Stephen Ross wasn't willing to open up the door and checked because he didn't want Michigan. But John Harbaugh, who is he? 18 years with the Baltimore Ravens. He has a regular season record of 180 wins and 113 losses. He's playoffs, 13 wins, 10 losses. He's a Super Bowl champion, 6-time AFC North champion, AFC Championship game appearances 4, overall win total 193, and like I said, the 13 playoff wins. He's got an NFL best 8 postseason road wins, franchise record, most wins by a head coach in Baltimore Ravens history. I think he's 14th on the all-time list as far as coaching wins. John Harbaugh is a game changer. The Miami Dolphins need to go out and grab him. I think he would, like I said, he would change the dynamic in the locker room. He would change everything. And I don't hate Mike McDaniel, but John Harbaugh is on a different level. He's on a different level. I would put John Harbaugh as a top 5 coach in the NFL. And if you got the opportunity to get a top 5 guy, you got to go out and get him. You got to go out and get him. Now, to go along with John Harbaugh, reports are that Chad Alexander is up for the general manager position. Another name added to the 6 that we already had. Chad Alexander has a working relationship with both Harbaugh brothers. I think he could be a great hire on. If you bring in Chad Alexander with John Harbaugh, that's a win-win in my book. Who is Chad Alexander? He's got 20 years under legendary GM Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome in many circles is considered the greatest GM in NFL history, responsible for so many just Hall of Fame draftees for the Baltimore Ravens. He's a guy that I would love to see in the front office. I think that would be a perfect marriage, Chad Alexander and John Harbaugh. So if you wanna change the culture of the Miami Dolphins, I've said it before. You go and you look at the winning teams around the NFL, the teams that have been doing it consistently for a long time. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, and that's where you want to go and you want to snag the front office guys from, the coaching staffs from. So right now we have an opportunity to get a front office guy from the Baltimore Ravens. We got an opportunity to get the head coach from the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Miami Dolphins need to go all in 100%. So not only does he have 20 years working under Ozzie Newsome, he's a member of the 2020 club. What is the 2020 club? Getting in the scouting in the NFL world is hard more often than not, but especially back in the day, you had to grind hard for little pay to make it happen. The 2020 club is a nod to those young guys who came in and took the hard way only to grow through the rankings and be promoted to higher rankings within the front office. It's people that has worked for 20 years and they started off with under $20,000 pay. The guys that just did it for the love of the game. He's a great scouter, just a great football mind. What else to know? Chad Alexander does have some experience with the New York Jets. Not in love with that. Chad Alexander was also a big GM candidate last year. He had interviewed with the Raiders, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But again, here nor there, should the Miami Dolphins pursue John Harbaugh? I think 100% they should. Leave in the comments what your thoughts are. Should the Miami Dolphins stick with Mike McDaniel for one more season? Should they look elsewhere? There's a couple names around the league that would be interesting. I still think they should maybe kick the tires on John Gruden. I don't know if Stephen Ross has the testicular fortitude to be the one that bring John Gruden back to the NFL. Whoever brings John Gruden back to the NFL is going to take a certain amount of scrutiny from the league and from the public. But what's your thoughts on John Harbaugh coming to the Miami Dolphins? I like it. I think it's a positive move for the Miami Dolphins. I think it could be a complete game changer as far as culture is concerned. I think he brings a different mindset. He brings a winning mentality to the Miami Dolphins, and I think it'd be a good move. I think it would be a good move. But what's your thoughts? We'll kick the tires more on this as more news comes from the team, from the media. But yeah, John Harbaugh to the Dolphins. I like the move. Let me know what y'all think. You know what it is. Fins up. Peace.
Yo. Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.